There's a lot of talk coming out of Miami right now, and it's not the kind of news Dolphins fans were hoping for. A well known NFL scout has shared the real reason why the Dolphins are thinking about trading star cornerback Jalen Ramsey. Yes, that Jaylen Ramsay. At the same time, Terran Armstead has been making waves, not just because he's putting in serious work this offseason, but also because he's been talking up young pass rusher Chop Robinson. What exactly did he say? And what could it mean for the Dolphins' defense going forward? Oh, and get ready for this. ESPN just dropped one of the weirdest hypothetical player moves for the Dolphins we've seen in a while. Let's just say fans aren't impressed. But before we jump into all the details, don't forget to hit subscribe, give the video a like, and smash that bell icon so you don't miss any Dolphins news or drama. Alright, let's get into the latest straight out of South Beach. Let's talk real Dolphins football, the kind that starts in the trenches. There's been talk around the league about Justin Tucker and how his presence highlights the importance of special teams when going up against Miami. He's not on the Dolphins, of course, but his consistency reminds everyone just how important kicking and field position will be this season. But what's really catching attention in Miami is the penalties. Late last season, the Dolphins were getting flagged way too much on offense. Those mistakes killed key drives. If they want to be true AFC contenders, that has to stop. There's also a bit of quiet buzz around tight end Julian Hill. Coaches have noticed his growth, both as a blocker and as a sneaky option in the passing game. Tight end depth is still a question mark, but Hill could surprise some people once training camp rolls around. Behind the scenes, there's serious evaluation happening right now. Coaches are going through the roster, figuring out who they can trust and who might be on the way out. Some big decisions are on the horizon. Training camp might still be a few weeks away, but the Dolphins are already laying the groundwork. And in Miami, every detail counts. Let's bring the focus back to what really matters: the Miami Dolphins and the moves that actually affect the locker room. With training camp right around the corner, the Dolphins are entering a very important time. Coaches and staff are making tough choices about the roster, especially when it comes to depth at key spots like the secondary and the offensive line. There's serious discussion happening behind closed doors. Some players are stepping up, while others are falling behind. And a lot of young talent is starting to push the veterans for their spots. At the same time, there's a growing focus on discipline and behavior, both on and off the field. Miami hasn't had any major controversies this offseason, but the front office isn't taking chances. They're raising the standard. They want leaders, not distractions. This year, it's not just about how talented the Dolphins are. It's about staying focused, being accountable, and handling business in a tough AFC East. The goal is clear: stay locked in, block out the noise, and build a team that's ready to go deep into January. Now let's talk about something that should worry every Dolphins fan heading into the season: offensive discipline. NFL analyst Warren Sharp dropped a stat that's tough to ignore. The Dolphins gave up 465 offensive penalty yards in 2024. That's the ninth worst in the league. And just to put that into perspective, they were only 30 yards away from being third worst. That's not a small gap. That's a serious problem. But wait, it gets worse. Some fans like to blame Miami's motion-heavy offense, but the real issue runs deeper. It's about accountability. And one name that stands out for all the wrong reasons is Julian Hill. Over the last 2 seasons, Hill has been hit with 14 accepted offensive penalties. That's a number you usually see from offensive linemen, or even star pass rushers like Micah Parsons, not tight ends. And here's the shocking part: not a single Dolphins offensive lineman, not one tackle or guard, has that many penalties over that same stretch. These flags aren't just numbers. They're lost yards, stalled drives, and missed chances. Even if we estimate lightly, those 14 penalties probably cost the team at least 70 yards. But with things like holding calls, the real number is likely over 100 yards. That's more than a football field just given away. If the Dolphins truly want to become a playoff-level team, it won't come down to just big plays or flashy new players. It'll come down to fixing the little things and cutting out the penalties, one flag at a time. Let this sink in for a moment. Guys like Liam Eichenberg and Robert Jones, who've taken starter-level snaps on the offensive line, haven't even come close to the number of offensive penalties that tight end Julian Hill has collected over the last 2 seasons. That's not just strange, that's a serious concern. Remember, the Dolphins gave up 465 offensive penalty yards in 2024 alone. But if you zoom out and look at the last 2 seasons combined, Hill's name still stands out. He ranks 11th in the entire NFL for accepted penalties. And no, that's not 11th among tight ends. That's 11th overall. Some people might laugh and say, well, at least he's top 10 in something. But let's be real. This is not the list you want to be on. The Dolphins have been preaching about building a disciplined, winning culture. But for that message to mean anything, accountability has to be real, not selective. This is a make or break moment for Julian Hill. Highlight reel catches during training camp won't matter if the same costly mistakes keep showing up when the games start to count. If Miami wants to prove they truly belong in the AFC's elite, it's not just about talent, it's about execution, discipline, and cutting out the small mistakes that kill momentum and cost you games. The spotlight's already on. Now it's time to earn it, not during practice, but when the pressure is real. Now for a major twist that could shake up the Dolphins' defense, and it centers around one of their biggest stars, Jalen Ramsay. A respected NFL scout has confirmed what many fans have been whispering about for weeks. The Dolphins are seriously considering trading Ramsay. And here's the shocking part. It's not about money. It's not about his $16.6 million cap hit. It's not about his age. According to this scout, the real reason is a broken relationship between Ramsay and head coach Mike McDaniel. That's a big deal. It lines up with earlier rumors about tension behind the scenes. Ramsay is still one of the best defensive backs in the game, known for his confidence, playmaking, and leadership. But it looks like things have gotten so rough with the coaching staff that the Dolphins might trade him before training camp even starts. The scout didn't hold back. Here's the quote, "No one has been able to explain what happened, but I was told this actually has nothing to do with money. It's a vote of no confidence in McDaniel." If the Dolphins do move Ramsay, it's not just losing a Pro Bowl talent. They'd be removing the heart and voice of their secondary, a guy who sets the tone for the defense. With rookies set to report on July 15th and veterans on July 22nd, the clock is ticking. Miami's front office has a big decision ahead. Try to fix things, or move on and prepare for a big change. Let's make this clear. If the reports are true, Jaylen Ramsay's frustration says one thing. He doesn't believe in head coach Mike McDaniel. And if that's the case, this isn't a small issue. Situations like this don't happen in a vacuum. Every coach has fans and critics, but when a player as important as Ramsay starts pulling away from team leadership, it sends shockwaves through the locker room. And no, this isn't just about personality clashes, it's about trust. It's about belief in the vision. And it's about whether your key veterans think the head coach can actually take the team all the way. This kind of tension isn't new in the NFL. Dolphins fans have seen it before, from the Brian Flores era to the Adam Gass years. But this time, it feels different. Why? Because Ramsay is the core of Miami's defense, and these red flags are popping up before the season has even started. If Ramsay really wants out because of McDaniel, then this goes way beyond football schemes or salary cap talk. This is a leadership problem, one that has to be addressed quickly before it tears the team apart from the inside. Training camp is just around the corner. The window to fix this is closing fast, and the next move the Dolphins make will say everything about where this franchise is really headed. The more we learn about this Jalen Ramsay situation, the more obvious it becomes. This isn't just a trade rumor. It's a clear sign of a serious disconnect between a star player and the Dolphins' leadership. Sources now mostly agree on what insiders have been hinting at for months. Ramsay doesn't believe in Mike McDaniel's coaching style or the kind of team culture he's trying to build. This tension didn't just pop up recently. It reportedly started well before the NFL draft, and it's only gotten worse since then. Some players, like Tyreek Hill, seem to love McDaniel's relaxed, player-friendly vibe. But Ramsay? He wants championships, he's chasing a legacy, and that's where things start to clash. From Ramsey's point of view, Hill is treated like the team's golden child, the star who gets all the attention. Meanwhile, Ramsey feels like his voice and his expectations aren't getting the same respect. That kind of thing builds frustration fast, and now it's boiled over into something serious. A trade that feels not just likely, but urgent, making matters worse. That's why Miami has almost no leverage right now. There's real fear the Dolphins won't get much in return, maybe a late round draft pick or a conditional deal that doesn't come close to matching Ramsey's actual value. There are four big problems working against them. 1. A broken relationship. 2. A big price tag. 3. Positional disagreements. 4. Low trade urgency around the league. It's a messy situation, one that could have been avoided, and now threatens to cost Miami one of its best defenders, for a return that barely moves the needle. There's still a small chance the Dolphins can get some decent value if they trade Jalen Ramsey, maybe a third-round pick, or at least a solid fourth-rounder. But let's be honest, with everything working against them, the tension with the coach, Ramsey's contract, and his refusal to change positions, that hope is fading fast. And the timing isn't helping either. With Jair Alexander no longer available on the trade market, Miami dodges some competition. But now, the focus shifts to Asante Samuel Jr. He's close to being fully cleared to play. And if he is, he could instantly become the top cornerback on the market. That means teams looking for a defensive back might chase Samuel instead. And Miami could lose whatever small trade leverage they still have. If the Dolphins want to make a move, they'll need to act fast, before the market gets crowded and the offers shrink. That's why many believe a Ramsey trade will happen before training camp starts. The only question is, will the Dolphins act early and smart, or wait too long and settle for less? Now, let's shift to something a lot more exciting for Dolphins fans, the rise of Chop Robinson. Veteran offensive lineman Terron Armstead recently had high praise for the young pass rusher. In fact, he compared Robinson to Von Miller. That's right, Von Miller. According to Armstead, Chop has that explosive first step, that bend, and that special burst off the line that elite edge rushers have. Robinson had a quiet start last year, but in the second half of the season, he turned heads. He wasn't just showing off raw athleticism, he was learning fast. His speed, his instincts, and the way he adjusted mid-play showed he was starting to understand the game on a deeper level. If that progress continues, the Dolphins might have a real difference maker on their hands. A young edge rusher who can change games. If there's one player on Miami's defense who's ready to break out in a big way, it's Chop Robinson. Teammates, especially Terron Armstead, are saying it loud, Chop's not just improving, he's about to take off. With stars like Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips drawing double teams on the edge, Robinson could find himself with plenty of one-on-one matchups. If he wins those consistently, don't be shocked if he climbs up the sack leaderboard. Maybe not as a league leader this year, but the upside is sky high. When he was drafted, some people had doubts. They pointed to his low sack numbers in college and wondered if the hype around his athletic ability was just talk. But the Dolphins didn't just see speed. They saw a player they could mold into something special. Some compared him to Micah Parsons since they came from the same school, but others, like Armstead, say his style is actually closer to Von Miller's. He's got that rare mix of twitchy movement, fluid bend, and finishing burst that separates the good edge rushers from the great ones. As last season went on, Chop started proving the doubters wrong. His rip move became a real weapon. Linemen were struggling with his first step. Even though he wasn't drawing holding calls early, especially in games like the one against the Colts, his constant disruption forced teams to change their blocking schemes. What once looked like a development project now looks like a future star on Miami's pass rush. As the season went on, Chop Robinson didn't just get better, he leveled up. The raw flashes of speed and talent we saw early on turned into consistent wins off the edge. That rip move everyone noticed, it didn't stay his only weapon. He started adding counter moves, learned how to use leverage, and most importantly, he began rushing the passer with a real plan. One of the biggest signs of his growth, his ability to set the edge, something that was a concern at first, but quickly became one of his strengths as the season went on. He wasn't just a speed guy anymore, he was playing the full position, fast, smart, and physical. Now, check out these numbers. Most sacks by any rookie edge defender, second most pressures among rookie edge rushers, highest pass rush win rate in his class, fourth in defensive rookie of the year. Voting. That's not just promise, that's production. A big reason for that progress? Terron Armstead, one of the NFL's best offensive tackles when healthy, spent time mentoring Chop. He gave him real feedback, broke down film, and taught him how to beat high-level pass protection. Having that kind of guidance? That's huge. Sure, the Von Miller comparisons might sound bold, but when you look at Robinson's physical tools and how quickly he's improving, it doesn't feel like a stretch. It feels like a preview. And here's where it gets exciting. If Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb, and Zach Sealer can stay healthy, and with Kenneth Grant coming in as well, this Dolphins defensive line could dominate. And Chop? He could be the guy cleaning up everything. Sacks, pressures, big plays. This defense has the pieces to feast in 2025, and Chop Robinson might be the one leading the way. Now, let's talk about one of the most head-scratching takes of the offseason. ESPN recently came out with a list of hypothetical final moves for every NFL team, and their suggestion for the Miami Dolphins: sign veteran wide receiver Keenan Allen. Let's be honest, that makes zero sense. The Dolphins already have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, one of the best receiver duos in the league. Behind them, they've got young talent like Malik Washington, who flashed in his rookie season, and Taj Washington, who's expected to be healthy again. They also added Nick Westbrook-Ikine, a solid depth piece. So let's be clear, Miami doesn't need another slot receiver, and definitely not a 33-year-old who struggled with separation and tracking last year. This offense isn't lacking firepower. What it really needs is stability and depth on defense, especially in the secondary. If the Dolphins are going to make one final move, it should be to add a cornerback, not a wideout. Names like Kendall Fuller, if cleared medically, Asante Samuel Jr., or even Rasul Douglas make way more sense, especially with all the uncertainty around Jalen Ramsay. So yeah, ESPN's take, way off. It feels like a copy-paste suggestion, not something based on what the Dolphins actually need. Miami's not shopping for extra insurance at wide receiver. They're looking for help in the backfield and a strong finish to a rocky offseason.